Hello, everybody, and welcome to the DOVECOTE. I don't think that's the way that I normally do this. Usually I say it's May 6th at 7 o'clock p.m. EST, and you're watching the DOVECOTE episode 25 with Ira Prince. Ira, my guest, please say hi.
Hi, I'm Ira.
Hi. um, tell the people who you are and what you do.
So I'm Ira Prince Valls. I am an illustrator and TTRPG dev. The latter newer. Um, Primarily an illustrator. I like to make narrative games about relationships and about struggling to express yourself through obstacles. Um, my debut was Eyes on the Prize, which I had a lot of fun with. And then I've also done Lamplighters Festival. I've done a couple other little games, and I'm currently working on Robots Loving Robots, which I hope is out sometime soon. It keeps getting pushed back, but we're still in it.
Good. Um, yeah, and you also have a lot of really wonderful, like art timeline stuff. Did you include your Patreon in this? Because I think you should.
Oh shoot, I should. I should. Hang on, I'm gonna go get my Patreon.
Yes, go get your Patreon. Yeah. Ira. Thank you, Peach Tea. Yeah. Ira made this this being YouTuber just for this stream, or at least
Okay.
made it is introducing it on this stream. I feel like it's probably more apt. Um,
I do think I'm gonna keep him. I do think I might
he's kind of
fiddle.
awesome. Um, yeah, but I highly recommend y'all should subscribe to that Patreon. Get Ira's time lapses and art. It's really good. Um, yeah. Uh, you and I met through a Sapphic World playtest, which was wonderful. Where
It's fantastic.
you made Cooking with Gorgeous and did a bunch of really wonderful art of that playtest, which was awesome. Um,
It. No, go ahead. Sorry.
oh no, you go.
Yeah, I was gonna say it is one of the things I love about tabletop the most, and the reason I got into it is because making a character and then role playing with people just makes the art juice go crazy.
Hmm.
And I have so much fun drawing role playing characters more than anything else, I think.
Yeah, that's like such a um. I have another friend who's very similar, Abby, um, in that regard, and that's such like a it's such a cool thing to be able to bring to a table to be like, hey, uh, I'm going to use this table and the events that happen at it as like a muse for like some sketches and doodles and pieces, and I think that's wonderful.
It's my favorite thing to do even outside of tabletop. It's all I do like in my free time as well. It's my favorite hobby with my wife. We make characters together and we write together. Um and that inspires pretty much all the art that I put out. Eyes on the Prize is based on specific characters of ours.
Oh, that's
There's
really
a few
good.
that are on the cover, and the whole fake marriage premise is something we do with those characters. So a lot of like anything that spins off any kind of art that I do ends up coming from I want to put characters in the Pear Wiggler.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Um, tell folks about. I feel like um let me see here. Actually, yeah, let's talk about what you're working on now. Well, actually, mm, tell me about a project that you've done or are doing now that you're interested in talking about. I guess is where I'll go with this.
I think I do want to talk about Robots Loving Robots because it's been my current whip for so long. Um Partially because it's fighting me, but that makes me really excited about it.
Hmm.
Uh like Eyes on the Prize, which was my debut game, is like I think it's sub 30 pages. It's like 28 pages or something. It's something I put together to see if I could do it, and I really loved doing it. But it kind of came quickly. I had the idea, and then a couple months later, I was like, let's finally do the idea. And I think it came together in like a week or something. Uh, Robots Loving Robots, I've been writing for over a year now, I think. But it's one of those things where when you don't get it all in one go, that just makes you really excited because
Hmm.
you feel like if I have to put this much work in, I know you're going to be good. It's going to be a two-player game. It's going to be an epistolary game, a letter writing game, in which you're both robots. Um, and the main mechanic, which I'm super excited about, is you randomly draw for character creation from a deck of cards, and it gives you your communication limitation, which
Mm.
is depending on the kind of robot that you are, you cannot write your letters freely. So I think one of them is like no complaining, no pessimistic statements. Everything that you say has to be chipper. Um, I have one of the more restrictive ones is you can't make up your own sentences at all. You can
Oh.
only parrot advertisements or memes or other. You can cobble together letters and phrases from what your partner writes, but you can't write sentences freely yourself. Um, and so all communication between the two players is going to be heavily limited by whatever limitations your robot has in being able to communicate. Um, and it's a concept that is really painstaking to playtest. Um, because it's not like dice rolls where you can just kind of, oh, I don't need to do the role play part. I'm just
Mm.
gonna like run through these numbers real quick to see if they balance out. You have to write the letters every time to see if these work. But I'm so stoked about the idea, as you can see, because I haven't breathed.
It's good. Um, that sounds awesome. I'm a really big fan of games that are like A, epistolary, and B, like kind of play with language in that way. My friend Marcy Mousewife uh, made a game back in the day when she was making games called Hello World. That
Hmm.
that's a two-player kind of epistolary game where um, there's a machine and the world, and the machine can only use like words that the world teaches it. Um, and that very much reminded me of that. I think that's awesome. I'm really I'm really excited to play or playtest that. Um,
Thank you.
I've been told to hydrate. I'm drinking Mountain Dew. I hope y'all don't mind.
I actually did just pound an entire tea, so I am hydrated.
Yeah, no, that's for me. It's you know. um, yeah. I guess from there. Are there any other games that you're like designing or kind of are bouncing around in your head right now?
um, so not designing so much as Eyes on the Prize is about to kind of have a facelift. It's going to be 1v1
Oh.
um or version 1.1. Um I have the uh Tom from Bogus Cheesecake Games is doing a redesign of Eyes on the Prize cuz when I first put it together, I did the layout like in a day in Canva by the seat of my pants. So it's very nice to be able to go through and kind of get everything a little tightened up, and then I'm going to be adding um, just little housekeeping stuff. Like there's always been kind of these unofficial notes on how to mod Eyes on the Prize for like a polyamorous character group,
Hmm.
as opposed to a pair. Or like it's GMless. It was designed to be GMless, but I found that a lot of people like to run it with a GM. So just a couple pages on like GM notes. And then also some fun stuff like adding some tables, some character creation tables that were only in the Japanese release, um, getting added into the English now, and all of it packaged up in a new layout. So I'm very excited about that as well. That's going to be coming out. I don't know when because I'm still writing some of this stuff, but it's churning.
Um, that's actually something I wanted to ask you about because like I'm aware that Eyes on the Prize is has a Japanese translation. How did that kind of come about, and like what was the process like for that?
That came about through so there's on Twitter, let me grab his account actually. There's Montreux is the head of Maelstrom Games, which is the JP distributor that I went through for the translation,
Hmm.
because they're an indie publisher that deals specifically in translating overseas games and bringing them to a Japanese audience. Because Montreux, the head of it, is really, really interested in international indie tabletop. So he's like really plugged into Itch.io, and he does things weekly where he asks people to send in links to their indie games, and then he like translates a blurb of it into Japanese. And there's a fan translation community. So actually, Eyes on the Prize was fan translated before I ever got approached to do it, like to license it out.
Hmm.
Um, and the community does it in a way that I think is really respect. I also like pirate my games, like whatever, like
Right.
find the PDF, get the PDF from a friend. I don't care, but they are mindful about like if it's a paid game, they don't distribute the translation; they just translate it for their table.
Hmm.
Um, but Montreux at first approached me about translating it. I think shortly after it came out, and at first I said no because I've always been very scared of anything that sounds like publishing. Like
Hmm.
I've always been like, no, I would like to peddle my PDFs out of the back of my car, please. Um, but then a little time went on and I kind of saw how Mantra was like involved in the community, and also to be frank, I got uh an offer from another Japanese publisher. And the second time I was kind of considering it, and then I thought, oh wait, no, but Montreux saw it first and asked me first and like was on it like almost from day one. So I want to go back and make sure that I'm talking to him first. And it turned out that the two guys were friends. The two guys who had
Oh, that's
both
really funny.
approached me. So they also both talked to each other over email and decided no, because he asked you first, we want to have you do it. But anyway, so Maelstrom Games translated it. They did a fantastic job. Because one of the things uh that was important to me was that a lot of times the way that the Eyes on the Prize rulebook is written is pretty informal, and I like to cuss. And I like the juxtaposition of that with it being a vaguely Regency era kind of setting.
Mhm.
And um, so the translator Darren, who handled the translation over at Maelstrom, worked with me on that, and I only know like tiny pathetic little scraps of Japanese, like just enough to go through the translated rule book and like get excited when I recognized a word. But from what I could see, the tone was kept really well, and the JP audience responded to it really well, and I saw people like excited that the rule book was kind of informal. Um, and it was super cool to see it go out there and do well, and to see people like sharing like pickaroos of their characters and stuff. It's cool to see it anywhere, but especially when like I had the what I think a lot of illustrators have as a kid, the whole I'm gonna grow up and I am going to make manga in Japan. Um,
Yeah.
grow up and you realize how publishing actually works and that that's not a
Right.
thing. Um, but to be able to say, oh, actually, one of my things, even if not comics, but like art that I made, actually did get picked up and got published in Japan, and people liked it. It's cool. It's been a cool experience.
Hell yeah. I'm being asked to
Also,
stretch by someone in chat.
pitched Maelstrom.
What was that?
Oh, I said, and also pitch to Maelstrom because they're really, really nice and they'll take good care of you.
Hell yeah. Yeah, so
Oh, I
so
never got the link.
oh, for what? Oh, for the stream.
For Maelstrom.
Oh, for Maelstrom.
Yes.
Yes. Uh so my partner and friend and occasional business partner, it's complicated. Uh uh Wendy, she and also no, co-star on the Seven Part Pact AP.
Oh yeah.
She she's French, obviously, and she like got her degree in English, and so she also does like a lot of translation, um, into French and from French. I believe she was involved in like a um, some sort of translation of the Electrum archives. I don't remember exactly what it was. Um, so I'm like I'm kind of like on the periphery of this stuff, but I feel like I never really understand like not not understand. It's interesting to like learn how many different like methods and ways there are that things get translated in the space. It's really cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's also like I remember when I first got approached, and especially when you're freelance and self-taught, anytime you're like approached with like an offer or a contract,
Mm.
it's easy to get really freaked out. And I was trying to figure I was like, what do you Google to find out if this contract is normal for having your small tabletop game translated into Japanese? And it turns out the answer is I don't fucking know. Like, figure it out. Like, I'm lucky actually that my wife works in IP law for his
Right.
day job, so he's actually able to like compared to the stuff that he does day to day. My contracts are like these are contracts for babies. These are contracts for ants, and so he can like glance at them and be like, yes, that's normal. Um, and through that, I have gained a little more confidence at navigating it myself. But I think when you're a little guy, your reaction every single time any kind of like cool thing approaches is, "Am I gonna get fucked?" Um,
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
and I think that's a good instinct to have. I think don't let go of that instinct completely. Um, but one of the things that I have enjoyed the most about kind of joining the tabletop industry in the past couple years, because before this I did only illustration. Before I got into Eyes on the Prize, uh I completely lost my train of thought.
Sorry, I moved the bird as you were talking. I hope that didn't cause
I was
that.
in it may have a little bit just because I love the birds so much.
My
Oh,
apologies.
one of my favorite things about entering the space has been that fear of mine has, like, been slowly cushioned again and again because I just keep having cool experiences with people and nobody's trying to get me.
Hmm.
Um, and so you end up doing cool illustrations for people and getting to watch cool games get written and have cool experiences like the 7-part actual play and stuff like that um and feel like, oh, everyone here is nice and like wants to do art together. And it's felt very good. I like that about being over here.
Yeah, I feel really similarly. I feel like I was really like on the defense. I feel when I like started doing TTRPG stuff and like in a serious way and like started reaching out to people for Sapphic World stuff and like you know having those conversations like I was so hyper aware of the fact that like I was not I didn't have like accolades, right? I didn't have like award winning games out there.
Mhm.
Um and the thing that I realized was that the people who make games, the people who are like involved in making, creating, distributing like games don't really care about how like they don't care about like uh do you have 12 million downloads on itch.io? I don't want to hear from you otherwise. They actually care about how good and interesting the stuff that you're making is, it turns out. Um, and
And
like,
isn't that so nice?
yeah, and like a lot of the friends that I've made recently in games have just been from like, uh, either myself or like someone else I have met who knows people being like, "Hey, look at Sapphic World," and then other people being like, "Hey, what the fuck is this?" and then like reaching out to me, um, which I think is awesome. I think it's good that that's the way this industry works for the most part.
I'm grabbing everyone in chat who may not have heard of Sapphic World by the head. Have you heard of Sapphic World? Do you know
Smiles.
what Sapphic World is? You're gonna find out.
Um,
I'm gonna go get my Tumblr tag so you can look at art and I can thirst trap you into play because I
yes,
really like Sapphic World.
you were very very helpful in getting people interested in Sapphic World. I think that's like that should be stated. I mean, I've said this to in private to you, but also like I think uh, I think there are two sides to it. One is like I think uh, you have a large audience who follows your art and is like interested in your art, and so when you start like posting serially about a character from a game that no one's heard of, they start looking into it, which is awesome. And two, I think you've really nailed uh you really hit the nail on the head in terms of talking about the game. in ways that I don't think I even really was like at yet. Um, like the I think so much about the thing that you said about Sapphic World is not a game that lets you put your OC in it smoothly, but it is a game that will let you make a Sapphic World OC. um, and
Yes,
that's informed
that's
so
my
much
favorite
stuff.
thing about it.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. I think like I I hope that I can do the same. Uh, that's like such a useful series of words, I guess. Is what I would say.
It's
Yeah.
and it mimics, I think I've said something similar about, I also feel like one of the things I love about Sapphic World is when you're reading the rule book and when you're playing it, you're very aware that all of the the denizens of Sapphic World are your OCs, are
Mhm.
the writer's OCs, in a way that sometimes I think kind of the way that people craft games is to try to smooth over those seams and try to make a world that has just kind of um like manifested and you don't think too much about the author in specific, versus Sapphic World so much feels like, I feel like I'm looking at my own like 8 years of Google Docs with my wife of all of our characters who love to fuck each other. And like I think that's one of the things that I connected with so much is it feels really similar to the kind of art that I make myself happy.
Mhm.
And so that's super easy to respond to. Because it's familiar to me and because it's, and I think that's also why a lot of times I refer to Sapphic World as like a place that I want to go to, because that's what my stuff is to me as well. So I just kind of I see it and I'm like the dyke version of the, oh, I can't say that on Twitch. The lesbian version of the Spider-Men pointing at each other.
I don't know if you can say that. I'm not sure if you can probably
I'll err on
layer
the
on the
side of
side.
caution.
Yeah.
I don't want to get you
Um,
in trouble on twitch.tv.
that okay. So like that sort of thing. Like I think you've identified something that I've I've talked about vaguely before, which is that Sapphic World is like me trying to make a game that's like partially made to be played at tables, but also partially made to be played like play by post erotic roleplay with your partner.
Yes.
um,
Yes.
and uh, because you've identified the thing that is true about Sapphic World, which is like the degree to which I made the game and am continuing to make the game by just putting characters and NPCs I played in like two-player play-by-post erotic games. Um, I uh, I think like a there's like a kind of unspoken culture there that I think is really interesting. Both in terms of like just people doing that sort of stuff with their partners and also like the broader erotic roleplay like space, I guess. That I appreciate you identifying because I think it's a really cool thing that like I think folks can sometimes be a bit shy about talking about.
Too, and I think it's because a lot of times that kind of role play is like I'll be super frank about it. A lot of times my wife and I talk about, man, role play is it's not always this for people. I think when role play involves erotic scenes, for us a lot of times it's just sexting.
Hmm.
We're just putting on little elf outfits and we're sexting each other. And I think that's why a lot of it, but it's, non-sexual tabletop games frequently get just as intimate. Like I think that we've all had completely non-sexual tabletop experiences where a character that we're playing was really, really bearing parts of us that like don't get to come out if there's not an elf mask on top, you know?
Right, right.
Um, and that dimension of it of games being intensely personal, um, I guess is a lot of what draws me to the indie scene too, because a lot of especially like small art games or things that are meant to be one shots get away from that, oh, I'm creating a world um that anyone can put OCs in, and instead become about even if not specific characters or specific scenarios that you've written or specific motifs that are interesting to you become this is this is a joke that I have with my friends, or this is an idea that I thought of, and I thought, wouldn't it be funny if that was a game? I'm thinking of Fishblade. I also have a Fishblade whip that I never finished after
Good.
to fill in anyone who's not cued in on brief tabletop viral tweets from several
Discourse
months
lore.
ago.
Yeah.
There was a tweet that was something like, "Oh, indie tabletop fans are always trying to get you to play something called Fishblade, a narrative diceless GMless game in which all the party members control one fish." Um, and I was like, "But I can make that sexy. But that can be about sex. But that can what if Fishblade is a mermaid with a knife who is swimming upstream to spawn, and it's a journaling game, and you all have to write a journal entry and then stick a knife in it, that's your fish blade, and rip off
Right.
half the page, and then it moves on to the next person, and then they continue your mermaid's spawning TF journey. I need to write that.
It's
I need
really good.
I need to write that game. I just remembered I had that. But yeah, I think that is where a lot of it comes from. Even if sometimes it has a meandering path to get to the itch.io page.
Yeah. I think like so I had an interesting experience literally last night when I was streaming. Some people saw this happen live, where I was playing a. This is not tabletop games. This is video games, but it ties back. Um, I was playing a a VR sword fighting game called Hellsplit Arena that has a bunch of AI art and voice acting in it, and I asked Steam for a refund because I realized like, hey, this is trying to be too many things and wear itself too thin, and it has no artistry. It is like asking me and the people who make mods for it to put so much into it. And then I opened up Blade and Sorcery, the really good VR sword fighting game, and I was like, wow, uh, I'm looking at the armor and the weapons in this game. They sure put some artistry into this thing. They sure wanted this to be a specific, like, distinct thing with a distinct art style. And I'm like, that's I don't want D&D basically. Like I don't want a platform for the stuff that I already have inside of me. I want uh I want someone to show me something, you know? So I
Yeah,
totally agree with you.
I love games. I love art.
I love games too. Are there any games that you're playing recently or looking at recently that you want to talk about?
Oh, I am excited about Psycho Dungeon.
Mm.
Um, which is by Ratwave Game House, and it's let me see if, let me find I found it. I'm fast. I'm fast. I'm speedy. Um, so this is about like I've never played any of the Persona games, but I know that this seems like the recent one of the recent-ish Persona game where it's like you go into dungeons that are based on people's trauma, like dungeons that are born out of a person's like mind space, and it's about being one of the people whose job it is to like clean up these mind dungeons. And all of the playbooks are about different kinds of being completely burnt out under capitalism, and it looks really cool, and the layout already looks cool, and I'm stoked about it. I want to play it.
Yeah, this looks something that's really interesting about this is like I feel like there's been a lot of tabletop games that are trying to be Persona, but they just kind of take the Persona 5 art style. And I really appreciate how this is kind of going for like a it's almost like it's a little Rock and Roll Hall of Fame but in a good way. You know what I mean? Like it's a
Don't
little
know what you mean, but I'm intrigued.
it's a little like uh museum that's trying to feel a little bit like a
Oh,
little bit
I know, I
hip.
do know what you mean.
Yeah, but in like a really good way, in a very like uh in a very aesthetically cohesive and pleasing way. I love the lion with the antler horns in the like museum hallway. Or like is that's a spaceship. Or no, it's a
I
what is that? Some sort of
it
tunnel.
looks spaceshipy to me. Also, the playbook art reminds me of Another thing I've been playing super super slowly is Tremulous. I've been playing that play by post in a Discord server I'm in, but with a Guild Wars character because I'm finding ways to mesh my tabletop and my video games as much as possible.
Hell yeah. I'll put Tremulous. There you go. Awesome. Tremulous looks really cool. Still have not played this one.
I will say Tremulous has a lot of writing and like it has like sanity based status effects
Hmm.
with writing that has not aged well with writing that I do not love.
I see.
Um but the rest of it in terms of just PBTA as like a way to run a go in the dark hole. That's literally what our campaign is called, Go in the Dark after the Go in
Oh,
the
in the
Dark
dark.
grinder meme. Um but as a go in the hole simulator with some fun little playbooks, I'm playing a doctor. I'm enjoying it.
Hell yeah. Sorry, I'm currently like chipmunking a carrot as I speak. Um,
No, that's so important. Please do that.
um, hmm. That's the last of the carrots. Now I only have wings. I've been eating Buffalo Wild Wings. They're not a sponsor. While I do this, it's very unprofessional of me, but also like, listen,
You gotta eat.
I gotta eat. What can I say?
Also, who cares about professional?
True. Professional. Professional confessional. I don't know. Um. Okay. Are there any games that are like? I guess the one that you mentioned was kind of this, but are there any games that are like on their way that you're excited about?
um, I will say interstitial again,
Yeah.
because I'm currently working on my interstitial illustration, and it's making me really stoked about it. I'm really excited about the playbook that I'm illustrating. I think I'm allowed to talk about the playbook. That's already been announced. So interstitial is a crossover game. It bills itself the premier crossover fan fiction game because the intent is that you play with different fictional characters. Like there's an actual play podcast right now that I need to catch up on where the party is Shadow the Hedgehog,
Hmm.
um, Alphonse Elric, Mob from Mob Psycho. Um, oh, is her name Aubrey from the MTV Scream TV show? And
Maybe.
Trish Yuna from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. This too could be your party if you played Interstitial.
Hmm.
And it has different playbooks that you can fit your Blorbos into. And I am going to be illustrating the Discarded, which is about the bitter second place sidekick, which I'm very excited about, and
Oh,
I'm making some banger art for it.
that's
I'm
gonna be
really
so good.
about what I'm
Hell yeah. Um, this is good. I love Interstitial. It's one of the first indie games that I ever played. The first one. Really excited about the second one. Backed it, and I'm really excited to see the art that you do for it. I think it's gonna be really good. Um, yeah. Okay. Do we want to? How do we want to do this? Let's do the first of our stories, and then uh, yeah, and then we'll take a break. Take like
Sounds
a
good.
5 minute break, and then we'll be back for the second, and then questions. Please send your questions to darlingdemoneclipse@gmail.com. I am expecting your emails.
Have an email.
Please send me your emails. I'm expecting your email. Send me your email, please. We're waiting for your email. Okay. Um, yeah. So our first story of this week. We only have two this week. It's a slower week. Sometimes that happens. So first one. I have this on 12-foot ladder because I don't want to pay for websites. Sorry, 404. Um,
Thou
uh,
hast journeyed far.
hey, Grief. Oh my god. Hi, Grief. Grief
Oh,
rated with
hello.
28 viewers. Hello. Welcome. We're gonna talk about AI, um, and tabletop role playing games, and how it's probably not good. um, I believe you were doing sketches. by the way, Grief is moving soon and is doing a uh like uh sketch, like is doing sketches for donations. So if you want to pay like $15 to get a really nicely drawn line sketch, um I did so. I got my Kenshi character frame drawn. You should go check out Grief's channel and go to Grief's Ko-Fi. Um, yeah. Uh, uh, we're happy. Hell yeah! I'm glad it's gone well. But yeah, let's talk about this story from 404. Flood of AI generated submissions, final straw for small 22-year-old publisher. So, this small publisher. Oh no! Wait, did 12-foot ladder not work?
Oh,
No.
wait, I think I can pull it up because actually for me, 12-foot ladder didn't work either, but you can actually, it's a little bit like Rascal where you can get in with a free subscription. Oh wait,
Oh,
I can't share
here.
my screen to the.
We're gonna really quickly. I'm sorry, 404. I'm sorry. You... Please, you don't have to do this to my family. Um,
Oh wait, it did say this post is for paid member. That's weird because for me it let me go in without it. Let me see if I can
unpaid
screenshot it
subscriber
for
from
you.
limited. Site is funded. Ugh, man. Sometimes we're made to suffer. Um,
Oh, now it does say paid. Oh, that's weird.
huh. Okay, well, Bards and Sages is the name of the company. I feel like I was able to get through via. Maybe I just didn't look. God damn it. Okay. Well, Bards and Sages, which is a fiction and TTRPG supplemental content place, does supplemental content for places like Pathfinder. Um, has closed due to a bunch of AI submissions, which is a shame. Um, and yeah, I remember. I think someone posted a thing somewhere that I read where it was like, basically, it's too much time to be able to like look through all of these,
To
and it's
dig through the emails. Because I could also get through to the article, I swear to God, before this. But
yeah, I feel
anyway,
like I could too.
that it was a time thing, that it was just that having to go through the sheer number of emails because none of the submissions have to actually be written. They're
Hmm.
just being generated, and so you can essentially spam email them in blast.
Yeah, it's it's fucked up. I like we've seen some of the like stuff with like D&D where there's been accusations of archive.md. Thank you, C Seraphic. Let me give this a shot. Let's see. Uh yeah, there we go. Here we
There you
go.
go.
Awesome. Okay. Um yeah, the AI problem is a time problem. Number of submissions flood their inbox. Um talking about how it's soulless, there's no personality to it, there's no voice. Like it's very clear, which ones are AI. It's just like it is an amount of work, right? That's kind of what the what who's the Julianne Dawson who ran the publisher said. Um and yeah, it's just like I uh, it's upsetting. It's sad. And I think like it's I'm kind of split between two positions on this. On the one hand, I don't want to give into astonishment. I don't want to be like, oh god, this is the end of the world. Like AI is going to take over everything, because I think that's like what these industries want on some level.
Right.
Um, but I do also think like the it's not that this is too powerful. It's that it is not powerful, or it's it can't do better or more interesting things than a human being can, and it is becoming uh, uh there are many people who have a lot of free time to try and make money off of it is basically I think the problem. um
Yeah, I think a take that I saw about, I cannot remember who posted it, but it was someone who was working in art direction and found that the company they were working for had hired a bunch of,
Mhm.
AI schmucks to try to churn this stuff out, and the person described their increasing frustration as they tried to get something usable out of these newly hired people, and they could not iterate, and they could not make the changes that an illustrator needs to be able to make on a piece of work for a job. And what the person was saying was, listen, eventually this is going to peter out, and people are going to figure out, no, you can't actually functionally replace people with this. But in the meantime, people are going to lose their jobs to it, because the thing is that companies need to feel those losses first, and they are going to try this first. And I think that struck a chord for me, between, not being fatalist about it, but also not dismissing that people are getting impacted. I think that's really kind of where it lies, is, yeah, eventually this is going to come out, and like there is still going to be a space for writers and artists, who care about their craft, and who are putting in time to make something. But the people writing the checks don't know that, and there is still going to be a period of impact where they're trying to make it work. And that sucks, and it sucks to see it happening.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I think like I the thing that I think that story, because I read that same story on Twitter, really identified as like um the problems with generative art, and I don't want to be like maybe I'll be wrong about this someday, but today, uh, generative art, generative image making, I would say music, video, like all that other stuff, voices, it can uh, it can't perform two things. It can't perform like innovation, and it can't perform honing, and those are like really important things when you're doing any
Yeah.
sort of art, especially like on commission, or like uh, you know like I've done art commissions before, and it's like, hey, can you replace this character's head with an eggplant at like, you know, stage 8 of, of drawing the thing, and it's like, okay, well, I don't think an AI could keep the other details intact while, changing the head to an eggplant, or if they did, it would be honed improperly, and so I think I'm not worried about these people replacing us, because I think they are cravens, basically, and freaks. And but I am worried about, like, there's going to be a lost, like some lost time and some lost passion from
And it's
people who actually do art.
Yeah, and also in the case of just like the sheer numbers game, it's just making the internet shitty.
Mhm.
Like, image searches, when I try to search references for art now, it just fucking sucks. And I see on Tumblr people saying, "Oh, well, you can download this extension and you can add this spreadsheet of all the different AI websites, and then it'll take the AI searches out of." I'm like, "Okay, I want to be able to Google tiger." Um, but but I appreciate the
Let's
pointers.
say if I Google tiger, yep, this looks like, maybe, right, like that.
I think that's AI. Yeah. The
Yeah.
the stripes
It
are
was
looking
quick. It
wonky.
was like that. Like, already something that looks. This looks wrong. Like, why can I not look up an animal and get that animal without this? Yeah. No, I totally agreed. Um, C. Seraphic in chat says job loss is looking very likely in the programming industry. Execs cannot identify good code from bad code, so prompt kiddies have an easier time getting away with it for longer before their ineptitude starts to show. That's so true, and
Yeah,
also,
that makes
like,
sense.
you look at guys like Elon Musk, who I think are kind of saying the quiet part out loud with regards to like what execs think of programming, which is like more lines equals better.
Yeah.
Like, if the more lines of programming you write, the better it is. So an AI writes more programming than any human could. So I mean that it has to be like
Therefore,
10
it's the
times better.
bestest.
It's the best to like you need to use it. Um, yeah. So hopefully this doesn't like I think Pathfinder and like D&D have their own kind of like they're kind of their own cultures in a way. Like, I think that they're very separate from like the indie space that this show
Yeah.
tends to focus on. Um, but I do really think like, or I do really hope that like this doesn't leak its way into indie TTRPGs. I've seen a little bit of AI stuff in uh trying to kind of creep its way into the indie space, but I feel like folks are generally pretty vigilant here about that
Yeah.
stuff.
And I think that the core base of people who because the indie TTRPG space overlaps with people who like super care about games as art, and I think that people who really care about art and craft are the exact demographic that is actively hostile to this shit.
Mhm.
And so, there's I'm not too worried about it. If anything, it feels like super cozy over here in terms of walling that out.
Yeah, I'm collecting cozy tokens. We're dead. We're good. Um, Accepting such money guys are the real customers for these AI services, leveraging its labor lets you cut costs and still technically deliver the products and service you used to do, albeit at a degraded quality. Yeah, no, that's real.
Mhm.
But I do feel like there are like some fundamental, like, you know, I don't know much about programming. My understanding is like you get enough bugs in there and shit stops working like fundamentally. Like you one thing is at odds with another thing. Like I've done fucking what was it? I used to play Little Big Planet 2 a lot, and I did a lot of like logic gate like programming in that. And I'd like to think it's similar, where if you have one end gate or OR gate or whatever that's not in the right place, and you put a wire in the wrong spot, uh, it's broken. And
That's been my experience with like the 3 times I've tried to finally make myself a portfolio website, and then something went wrong with me copy pasting from all of the very helpful people online who have web pages dedicated to let me help you make a portfolio website, stupid baby. Um, and then my website is gone.
yeah, HTML is you know, I've done some HTML. It breaks really easily. But yeah. Um yeah, that's all we got for this story. You want to take a little break?
A little break.
Okay, we'll be back in 5, so we'll be back at what is that? That's like uh
Oh, 53?
53, yeah. All right. See you all in a bit. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the wings I ordered were spicy, so it's hot ones, but only the host is eating them. I made that joke before we went on. Um, yeah, welcome back to the Dovecote. We're going to talk about our next story, which is a really short one. I just want to gesture folks over here because, like, listen, is this do you have a conflict of interest here? Because both these
No.
people are my friends. Maybe. Probably not. It's probably fine. Actually, I don't know Download a Goat. Wait, no, I do. Wait, do I? Who's Download a Goat? Oh no, I know them. I know that I know this person too. You should nonetheless. So Riley Rethal, Download a Goat, and oh, Lily Rue, thank you for the follow. Riley Rethal, Jesselvine, and Download a Goat. I put out this wonderful little "We Have Star Wars at Home" bundle, which is a bunch of really great Star Wars TTRPGs. I think you could play an amazing series or single Star Wars TTRPG adventure using any, some, or all of these books. And I'm just going to recommend this because I like Star Wars in concept a lot of the time. Also, I like... Hang on, let me see if I can get that on stream. Ugh. We're trying here. Oh yeah, I like this bit here. Oh, fuck. Nope, it's not happening. It says, "Did you know the Jedi kidnap children? That's fucked up, actually. And don't even get us started on the good side of the Force, in which you're a sexless ascetic who denies your feelings / dark side of the Force, in which you recognize that you have emotions binary." Uh, Definitely some a more civilized age listener shit here. And it's good. You should grab it. That's all I have to say about that. That's true. I am the Star Wars liker, and I should be basically removed from the planet for it, but they still haven't caught me. So yeah, uh, grab these games. Smiles. I never
I'm
brought.
like
That's
entranced by Planet Sis. I want to know what Planet Sis is.
Planet
Well,
Sis
I know what
is.
Planet Fist is.
Yeah, it's. I've played a little bit of Planet Sis. It's your droids, and it's awesome. You just like it's Planet Fist, but you're droids and you're fighting Jedi and clone troopers. Um, I played a little bit of it. I played as a droidica, the little rolly guys, and I did a thing where I rolled off of a tank and used it as like a ramp to like fly towards a group of clone troopers and a Jedi, and then just like shoot at them as I landed. um, that was really fun. Yeah,
It's
cool
all
game.
about.
Yeah. Um, okay. Sorry for bringing in Cordis the Newsbird late. Cordis was delayed. Uh, Cordis was in a salt mine, or like a salt cave, not a salt mine. Cordis is not mining for precious lithium minerals. Cordis
My
is
birds have unionized.
my birds have unionized against me, and my realm is ruined. Um, yeah. Let's hop on to the third segment. Bringing in Apocrypha, bring in Apocrypha, the email bird, and we are going to answer questions from my email.
I'm gonna be honest, they're my favorite bird.
That's good. I'm glad. Um, I think I have the ones that I didn't do last time in my calendar. So there are a couple more from our VIP question asker Goblin that I think we're going to start with, and then you all should send emails because I don't see any. So send questions.
Please send me any email.
Please send me an email. I need your emails now, please. Smiles. Okay.
Can I have just one little email?
Yeah.
Can't you just spare an email?
Please, one email. Please. Hang on, let me. My eyes are so big and wet. Please, please, one email. Oh god, I forgot this doesn't like Control Z. I have to like manually move myself. Oh god. Okay. Ooh. Okay, but we're gonna have some from Lilith. That's wonderful. That's awesome. Okay. Oh yeah, here we go. Oh god. Okay. That's a good one. Anyways, we're gonna answer some goblins leftovers from last week. Question 1. I will also send this. This is a good one for you, I think. What do you think is the best place to start a TTRPG project from? A specific idea for a rule you find cool, an idea for a setting, the vibe you want the game to have. The best. That's very
I
subjective.
I think the real answer is whichever one of those, if any one of those options has a crumb that makes you excited, that's what you go from. I think usually, um I find that idea comes first. Like the idea for a rule or a concept, or like the hook or whatever, is what comes first for me. A lot of times it's a mechanic that I think could be fun. Um but then later I think vibe is something that's really important to nail down. So I will say I think usually vibe comes later for me. Um there's actually a bit in my Robots Loving Robots like planning notebook where I'm trying to nail down vibe, and I'm thinking a lot about like what do I want playing the game to feel like? And like what parts of relationships am I trying to uh tap into or emulate? And a lot of it is about the risk of a new person and of deciding how vulnerable to be, and the feeling that being honest or putting effort in could be risky. Okay, if that's what I want, what mechanics do I use then to introduce that risk? To make you reluctant to open up, but also still to have that pull of, but what if it goes good? And so I think a lot of times these things kind of cascade and inform each other. So as long as the first thing that starts the domino effect is something you're really stoked about, um, I think everything else will come naturally from all of the little like neural interconnections that happen.
Yeah. I. Hmm. I feel like. Uh, I'm in a place where, like, the only way that I can describe this is through, like, a weirdly lurid metaphor, so I guess I'll just do that.
Yes.
So for me, making a new teacher RPG is like, I hear that there's like a new place in town that like does a thing, like, maybe they do burgers, or like they do like they do like burritos or like Mexican food, and I go there and I'm like, yeah, this is really cool, and that's me like finding a rule or a thing that I really like, and then a ghost walks in and like tilts my chin up and like looks inside my mouth and then leaves, and that's when it becomes like a creature. That's when the game like gets legs. Like I don't know. I feel like I get like ambushed in the middle of making like a pretty normal game by a like phantom of something that like I either never thought that I would think about or imagine, or like have been running from to some degree. Um and that's games. Like that's basically what happens with me, where it's just like, oh, that's what this game is about. Like,
Sometimes it announces itself.
yeah, this is about that trauma that I have. Okay, well, let's like really go back and like dig deep into that, or this is about this political thing that I've been thinking about. um
Hmm.
and so I think like sometimes just starting on the really like kind of mundane seeming projects and uh letting them take over you to some degree is really good. Although that also requires like I assume some part of this has to do with me being like a little mentally ill, but like there's some overlap between uh how the ways in which I'm kind of fucked and the ways in which I make art sometimes.
Absolutely. It's all connected.
It's all connected.
Flash pause for me a lot of times.
What was that?
I said slash pause for me a lot of times.
Hmm.
Not all the time, but it is nice, especially as I get older, to start seeing like the fingerprint of, oh, these are the motifs that come up again and again. Oh, these are the feedback loops that I like revisiting again and again, and seeing it kind of in different iterations. The like the game or the art or the comic or whatever forms itself around.
Yeah, I feel like I'm also kind of coming up on that where it's like when you're really like, when you're like 18, 19, you look at art and you look at art that you've made and you're like, oh god, I'm falling into patterns. Oh no. Oh, I hate patterns. Oh, I need
No, I
to.
already did that.
Yeah, and then you get you get older and it's like, I really like the thing that I do. Like, I think that it's really fascinating and good. And then like that's that confidence, right? And then you're like, you know, when you start seeing those things again, you're like, ah, yes, my old friend.
My old friend.
My old friend
I've,
drawing
I've
a freaky little monster on the page.
done it 100 times and I'll do it again, bitch.
Yeah. Um, like there is a pretty significant overlap between like the things that I like the monsters and creatures that I draw for like Autopsy Feast, Biotraffication, Sapphic World, and like things that I was drawing when I was like in middle school. like I
Oh yeah, that becomes truer and truer for me.
yeah, it's good. Patterns, files. Um, okay, next one here is uh what do you do to structure your thoughts on your projects? That's a good one. Do you have
So
thoughts
I
on this?
think, yeah, my thoughts are I think that 60% of Robots Loving Robots is in my Google Docs,
Hmm.
and another 20% is on loose paper, in 2 or 3 stacks in my office mixed in with other stuff. And then I know that there's, I think, 1.5 other notebooks that have Robots Loving Robots stuff in them, and then various drawings scattered digitally and under crap in my office. And then also in the playtest Discord that I disappeared from for several months. So my answer to
Hmm.
how do you structure your thoughts is I don't.
So I am a I would like to pride myself on being fairly organized when it comes to thoughts. Like I generally, and part of this is that I don't actually write down that much stuff physically, so it makes it very easy just to be like, this goes in this folder. Um, However, like I do, I have a lot of places where I do work for different things. Like, um, I did some prototyping for a game that I'm making with Lilith in Tabletop Simulator. like,
Oh yeah.
there's a variety to it, and I think like a big thing for me is I take a lot of comfort in having like the outline of a thing set up, like so I can see the edges of it. Um,
Yeah.
so like let me actually pull up that game. This is Dungeon Cleanup Crew, which I will not show because I don't want. Listen, there's the game is a work in progress. Smiles. Um, but yeah, Dungeon Cleanup Crew is a uh, dungeon cleaning like dungeon game, dungeon cleaning dungeon monster game. Uh, that me and Lil Fly Like Leviathan, my good friend, are working on. And one thing I've done, or one thing we've done, is write out like the basic like format, layout, like structure for every like thing that you'll encounter, like character option, like locale, um, because I like having that stuff down on the page like early on.
Right.
Because then from there you can be like, okay, let's just fill in the details. Um, when it comes to like, 'cause sometimes I get like new ideas. That's where it gets tricky. That's where you have like the Sapphic World scrapbook where it's just a fucking mess. But the scrapbook has like ideas for later books in it. There's a part that's just like, here are some funny lieges that you could have in Sapphic World. Um, but it's good to do a mix of like looser stuff and more organized stuff, I guess. Yeah, I guess my answer to that, my advice there would just be like find something that works for you. Um, I really like bullet points when it comes to like coming up with like the basics for a thing, but
You
you can
need to
truly do
embrace
what you
bullet
want.
points.
They're
I
so
think
good.
a lot of what contributes to my situation over here is that like for brainstorming and stuff really in the rough has to be on paper for me,
Hmm.
but then actually organizing things and starting to streamline it and nail it down has to be digital. And so really it's about the different steps or different parts of the game that are at different stages for me end up having to be scattered across different dimensions. But just know at least where everything is. That's my advice. Is if
Right.
you're like me and you have it scattered, at least keep it in one room so that when it's time to frantically gather everything up and slam it into a Google Doc, you know the square footage you're working with.
Yeah, agreed. That's a good point. Okay, the next one is same person, still Goblin. How do you make one shots feel satisfying? The ones I've listened to have felt rushed or half baked. Actual plays are far different from real play, but it still doesn't invite confidence. Uh, do a session zero, even for a one shot. Like people don't people refuse to do session zeros for one shots, and I think it's a really good idea to do one. Um, Even just get like expectations down, especially if you're doing an actual play. But even if you're just doing it with friends, like try and either have like an extra hour or two, planned, or like try and try and do an actual session zero. Especially if it's a more complicated game.
A lot of this, but my first thought on why a one shot might feel rushed or half baked is everyone at the table kind of getting too married to the idea of what one shot means. Like, oh, it's just going to be
Hmm.
one session, so we better wrap it up and get it done. Or, oh, it's only going to be one session, so I'm not that invested in these characters. I think a lot of it is about taking enough time and letting yourself lend the one shot enough weight that everyone is putting in kind of the same attention and investment and feeling as excited about what's happening as they would be about a longer campaign. I think that's the secret spice too, is investment and letting yourselves get invested.
Yeah, I also think like um, either entering at like a planning state or in media res. Like if you're doing like an action thing, it's a lot better than being like, the wagon wheels you all into town. What do you do? um, because
Right,
like
exactly.
people are just gonna get really disoriented by that. You need to have something going on because like in a campaign, you know, people are gonna want the setup. People are gonna want like the maybe more laid back first session with a couple of good hooks. Um, but in a one shot, you're gonna want to be getting into that, you know, delicious apple sooner rather than later. Um, yeah. Okay. Uh, this is also a good one. What do you think of systems that have built-in session limits? I think Heart the City Beneath and Shadow the Demon Lord have rules along those lines. It's a cool idea. I
Interesting.
like it.
I think I like it too. Um because I know I had just said, oh, don't get too worried about like session limits or the idea of, oh, this has to be done in one session. But I think if it's built into the system itself as opposed to built into a concept that you're bringing to, oh, this is what this campaign is going to be. And I think if it's I'm interested now to read these rule books because I think if that session limit is woven really thoroughly and really intentionally into the rules and into the tone and how the game works, I think that sounds like it could whip ass. I think I that gets me excited.
Yeah, I would want really like distinct mechanics for like I wouldn't want to be like, you only have 6 sessions to complete this. Like decide what that means amongst yourselves. I'd prefer if it were more like, you know, session one, these are the things that are going to happen. Session two, etc., etc. Um,
Exactly. I would want it to matter.
yeah,
I actually think Sapphic World does some stuff with campaigns kind of like this that are exciting to me. The idea of the season clocks and the idea of the campaign threat will do XYZ when the season ticks over. I like the idea of there being that structure temporally. Um and I guess the idea of the passage of time not necessarily being punitive, but being, hey, just so we're all on the same page. this is what's going to happen when that clock turns over, I think can create a lot of really interesting scenarios.
Yeah, something that's actually really interesting is since the last time that you played Sapphic World, there have been two reworks of the campaign
Oh, there
system.
have been. I'm
Uh,
behind.
the first one was me trying to do just like a straightforward narrative thing, which I don't think worked. It was too restrictive. And then
Hmm.
the new one is like it's a mechanism. Like it's not a like it has no feelings. It's a machine that ticks over time. More like what I was doing initially, but I think more I think I've been able to get more like harsh with it because there's advice. There's like an advice column after it. Um,
Oh, cool.
so like an example is Headless, the Vestiture taking over Sapphic World campaign, where they're trying to get Freefall Keep. They
Hmm.
slowly like I think it's like every month they take over two landmarks, and
Yes, I love that.
like you can technically without like quote unquote breaking the rules, you can only take back one at a time. So the idea is like you kind of have to like use rituals and weird magic and like use your allies to like take things back. And I really I guess my point being like I really like ticking clocks. I think they're a really good way to like make a game interesting and scary. Um, and I think more games should use them. I think they're cool. Um, yeah.
I think that we I just fixed a problem I've been having with robots loving robots in my head due to being on here. I think the
Yes.
damage is just where I think there need to be clocks.
Yes. We're clocking. We're clocking. Well, we're clocking in. I hope we're not clocking anyone. I I hope if we're clocking anyone that they're interested in being clocked. Uh, okay. Um, I have one more question, and it's a very light one. It's from a who's it from? It's from Lilith. The subject line Dennis. On a
Dennis.
scale of 1 to 10, how much do you love Dennis?
Um, I love Dennis. Dennis. Dennis out of
Dennis.
10.
Dennis out of 10. Dennis out of
Dennis
10.
exclamation point.
Yeah. Um. Hell yeah. Actually, I want to go back to the previous question. The the origin of this mechanic is Dungeon World, which is a game that sucks ass. Sorry, a game that sucks ass. Sorry, I mean a game that's anyway. Yeah, it's not a very good game. It's made by kind of a piece of shit. However, it does have a pretty good mechanic where it's like you have clocks that like make things happen without the influence of the party, and I think that's good. I think more games should do that. Um, does anyone in the chat have any questions? I will answer questions from the chat because we. Yes, it has. Also, hi Vel Mini. Uh, I have Vel. I um, welcome to the DOVECOTE, aka the Fellowship fan cast. Uh, I've talked so much about Fellowship. I love Fellowship. I think it's a good game. Um, yeah, no, I actually think Dungeon World is okay. I'm being a little exaggerative when I say that when I say the Dungeon World is bad. It's just yeah, aged terribly and circumstances. um, but yeah, um, hell yeah, I'm really excited to see. I'm very very excited to see what Fellowship 3 looks like. I'm really excited. Um, advice on writing Gonzo settings. Holy shit. You should take this first because I need to think about this. I don't know if you have any opinions on this, Ira.
Oh, I mean, I feel like my advice on this is gonna sound super generic because it's my advice on everything, but also I think it is I think it's the advice for everything. Indulge yourself completely and have as much fun as possible and it'll whip. Like and I wish I could get more detailed than that, but I think it's so subjective and it's what's gonna make it good when you write something depends entirely on what is it that only you can show us? what Gonzo setting is specific to you? Find what is your image that needs to be in that in your setting? What just came to mind for me was vampire nurse, a little bit of blood drips off her chin and onto her white stocking. And you know how like color bleeds when it gets on white stocking. You need to find your images like that and then make a setting where all of those little images happen organically, where they're going to be in there, where the reader or the player, whoever you're bringing this to, is going to see it. How do you make your reader see that blood droplet on her white stocking? That's my advice.
Yeah. I think an important element of Gonzo is like uh it's deflation that somehow keeps its weight, like, or that keeps its like it's like uh it's like if you popped a balloon full of sand. The balloon is deflated, but the sand still weighs the same. Like, so I've been playing Kenshi recently, and Kenshi has a thing. There is this crater called Arak, where there are just armies of bugs everywhere, and the Shek, these like horned people who live near Arak, uh, come down the crater when it is time for them to die. There are fortresses that surround Arak that are full of these men who are older warriors who are going down there with the explicit intention to die, because they want to die an honorable death against the Bugmaster and his army of bugs. And there are also a bunch of bounty hunters who are like, I'm gonna get the Bugmaster and I'm gonna get his treasure and I'm gonna be awesome. The Bugmaster is a guy in rags who stands in front of a treasure chest full of human teeth, um, and uh, does not speak at all. However, he is one of the strongest characters in Kenshi. That's what I mean by like deflating but keeping the weight. People are right to be scared of this place and scared of this guy, but all the legends about it are like on some level wrong, and also like kind of absurd. Like, uh, I think I think an important thing in like Gonzo writing is like you want to be not subverting expectations for the sake of subversion, but for the sake of comedy, and for the sake of like uh killing the cop in your head. Like the you know I'll go back to Sapphic World just because it's the game that I've written the most of. Like the fact that the first folk of Sapphic World is just a scene girl named Pizza Friday is like I think the when I say I want Gonzo writing, that's what I want more of. I want just like normal weird freaks in like positions they shouldn't be in. Um, and yeah, that's kind of my thought process on it.
Hey, Pizza Friday is such a good example of that because like some of our most poignant campaign moments in the playtests that we did were with Pizza Friday, and I love that Pizza Friday's like thing in the rule book is, once a campaign when all seems lost, Pizza Friday will come and save you. Like I love that, and I think that's also how it's I say a lot about self-indulgence and fun, but I think that that also has to be paired with sincerity.
Mhm.
It's, you make a campy world and you're enjoying the camp, but also the world is real and you are taking it seriously insofar as uh love being there. And I think that's a prime ingredient as well.
Yeah, the best way to write anything is with full enthusiasm. Take your work seriously even when you're being ridiculous. Yeah, absolutely. I'll look at that in a second. Uh, what was there was another element. Oh yeah, yeah. I feel like Brenly Mulligan actually does this really well. Like the Dimension 20 broadly, I think does this really well. Like I think of there's a character in the Starstruck season called Plug, who's a uh traveling like scrap salesman who runs a butt plugs shaped shack called Plug's Butt Ugly Stuff Hut. Um, but he's also like some sort of wizard, and it's never really explained. And he's also constantly talking about how he's gonna die tomorrow. Um, I think like improvisation is also a big element of like getting deep into Gonzoism, getting just having fun with it. First idea, best idea. Sometimes I think that's that's what I like, and it's good. Um, Goblins Rule Forever asked, "How do you tap into the feeling of older RPG/zine media, 60s to 70s? I can't get over the feel of furry media and early TTRPG stuff. Bonus points if it's not horribly bigoted. Uh, pay Hodag. Just order art from Hodag. Let me find Hodag's. Let me hook y'all up with Hodag. If you have any additional ideas, Ara.
Don't have an answer for this one. I'm not familiar with that era.
That's fair. Yeah, like I would recommend beyond my joking answer, which is order from Hodag, because Hodag just does like really good kind of AD&D style art. Um, look for artists and layout folks who create stuff in the style that you're looking for. Like I think there are folks whose bread and butter is this, and like they're around. They're maybe not around in like the exact spaces that I necessarily run in, but like they're out there. You can find them. Uh, look at games that you enjoy the layout for. Like look at like Mothership books. Look at like Electrum Archives books. Look at Morkborg. Kind of like I think you can probably find some folks there, and like find those folks contact info. Be like, hey, do you want to do this for me? Uh, like if you want to tap into that aesthetic, that's a really good way to do that. Just like find stuff that you think is modern and fits that aesthetic, and then reach out to them. And then like early furry art, I and I guess also like in terms of vibes, I think part of it is about like not necessarily thinking about your thing as a product and thinking about like if I were to print this out and give this someone tomorrow, like would they be able to play it? I think that's where you want to be with like stuff that's meant to have that vibe. Um, you want to have something that you could play on like a on like a piece of loose leaf paper. Um, yeah, that's probably my like answer to that. It's not an area that I've done much in. Honestly, Wendy might have better answers for that. Maybe next time I have Wendy on, I'll ask some questions about that. Um, vintage furry stuff is awesome. It's really cool. Um, does anyone have any other questions or even just topics they want us to talk about? We're here for like another half hour, so we're you know we can also just shoot the shit. I mean, there's nothing stopping us from just going off. If you
No
have
one
anything
can
you want to
stop
talk about,
us
Ira,
from shooting this shit. Oh, I'm trying to think. Really, the robots is my well. I can chit chat about the robots revelation because the problem I've been having is so I love the communication limitation mechanic where you have to write your letters a certain way. And then it's the other big part of the mechanics is it's kind of asymmetrical. Not really. It's mostly symmetrical, but one robot is the patient who has something wrong with them, even either in their coding or in their hardware, but it's something unlivable. And then the premise of the game world is it is not it's illegal for robots to do maintenance on themselves. You have to get maintenance approved for whatever reason you haven't been able to do that. And so you need to find another robot who can fix you. And so the other player is the medic who can fix you. Um, and you're exchanging letters trying to gauge whether it's safe to trust this person to have this transaction or this relationship, and also to figure out for the medic to figure out what's wrong with the patient robot. And what I was stuck on is I was like, I need a win condition because we can sit here and exchange letters and you get points for hitting on certain things in the other person's like build essentially. And we can rack up points and we can buy little upgrades and stuff. We can do that forever, but I need to figure out a way to A, introduce real risk, and B, have some kind of endpoint or win state or fail state. And clocks. The answer is clocks for everything.
Mhm.
Clocks does it all. So I'm very excited about that.
I have a thought about that. So
Oh,
like
please share.
the thing about a machine that makes it really the thing about a machine and a person, a body or a device that makes it like devastating when it stops working, is that there's a lack of reliability in when it stops working. And I'm like, okay, like two thoughts. One, what if the patient veiled their clock from the other player? And two, what if it wasn't entirely up to, like what if it wasn't a consistent amount of ticks that went on the clock each time? Smiles.
Oh, this is really good. Because wait, let me pull up my document because this also hits on it. I can introduce risk in like missteps in the letters this way because right now the way it works
Oh,
is you can gain points um if your partner does the right thing when robots loving robots active draft. I need to pull up my so like one of the encryptions is your letters must be a pragmatic or factual daily log of events or activities or a change log or list of things that have been changed last time. And then I changed the name. They're not called communication limitations anymore because that's such a mouthful. They're called encryptions.
that's good.
Um and then you have an exploit. If your partner requests a specific update or report, you gain 1 point um, and comply with the request. You gain 2 points instead if the request is about something abstract, i.e., the change in your emotional state. That's one of the more fussy ones. Some of these are. I should just send you this document so you can see it.
I would love to look at it.
Um, but I'm thinking also there can be something where if someone triggers the wrong thing with your encryption, maybe it progresses your clock.
That's really fun. There's something there. Uh, Chimera mentioned Force in the Dark clocks, which are like so oftentimes with Force in the Dark, it'll be like either a bad thing will happen if they get full, or like a good thing will happen, and you're often rolling to determine like how much progress actually happens on the clock. Um, Now, obviously, you don't want to introduce dice into that, um, but
Oh yeah,
there's maybe some potential there. You do some really big
that
clocks with your deck and just have like, you know, 1 to 9 and faces on like a 36 or like 52 uh, unit clock, which is really long.
the big scary danger here is, of course, getting fixed wrong. That's
Mm.
because another mechanic that I was thinking about introducing, but I was finding it a little too broad and a little difficult to wrangle, was the patient robot having a keyword, like a key code that they
Oh,
hide from the other player, and you're not allowed to use that word in your letters, but you're trying to guide the other person towards it. And a win state was kind of like guessing the word correctly.
that's
You could
really fun.
also introduce um, negative consequences for guessing wrong. But it's one of those things too where when it comes to layering mechanics in this game, I'm trying to be cautious because a lot of the encryptions, a lot of the restrictions on writing letters are already pretty complicated to begin with and involve like counting lines or counting words. So I don't want to give people too much shit to juggle while they're playing because then it becomes unfun.
Right.
Um, but also at a certain point, sometimes you just need to throw stuff at the wall and risk a few like massively unfun playtests where someone has to come back to me and be like, "Dog, I can't play this."
So I've been writing a lot of God Game cards recently. God Game is a card game that a bunch of streamers made, um, where often the point of writing cards is like creating more of those situations. Let me find where's the thinker. Um, I don't know if
I've
you've
seen
seen
some
any of
really
these,
fun
Sahara.
the God game card that I keep seeing get brought up. I forget what it's called, but it's like use at everyone in as many
Master Ping.
servers as you can. And the
Yes,
more discords you get banned from for doing this, the more points you get or something.
it's really good. But yeah, I guess like it's it's funny to hear you say that as I've been like so deep in the minds of like trying to make as many of these like horrible impositions as I can. This is the thinker. Um, when you'd like to play this card, start a hidden stopwatch and tell everyone that you're deciding what you want to do. This is called thinking, and can only be done while this card is in your hand and you're preparing to play it. When you decide to finally play this card, stop the stopwatch. If asked why you're taking so long, say I'm thinking and nothing else. If someone gets mad at you for thinking for too long, discard the thinker. And then you gain coins equal to 5 times the number of minutes you've spent thinking this turn. Which is so stupid. I
Oh shit! No, I want to make God game cards.
they're really fun to make. They're also I've been in the mines. I've made like almost over 200 at this point, and I want to make more. Um, they're just so fun and silly to make. Where was is this one any good? Um, where's the locator? Oh wait, no, actually, hang on. I gotta show. This will be the last God game card that I chose, so that we don't enter the Eclipse God game card hour. Um, this is the friendful visitor. Yeah, so I went to visit my friend, the friendful visitor. Consumable. You may use this card as a reactive action when someone says some fuck shit about one of your cards. Discard this card, then annihilate any card in their field. But yeah, anyways, sorry for the tangent. I just the thought of like a bunch of silly impositions. I had to do some rhyming in the last God game card that I played. Uh, or in the last God game match that I played because of a card. Like it's good. I think.
I'm thinking about a game that, and now I'm gonna have to crowdsource this. Was this actually a card game, or was I just being elaborately bullied, like in elementary school and middle school? But like, there's like this card game that people would play where the point of it was you can't tell anybody the rules. Um, you have to sit in and like watch other people play, and you're trying to play this. This is really sounding like I'm getting hazed, but like I promise
This
everyone was acting like it was a real thing.
this happened to me
Um,
too, and I'm not sure either.
Were we both just getting bullied and we didn't notice? I feel like there were so many cases actually in my childhood where like, wow, that really would have hurt my feelings if I had known that you were trying to, but I just didn't understand, so it didn't bother me. Um,
Yeah.
but it was something that like was kind of interesting in that it was about other people deciding like what they can, or there were certain things where like you'd get penalized if you forgot to do something during a round. So you would learn, oh, that's a rule because I just got hit with a like a 2 card penalty because I didn't do it.
Right.
Oh, Mao. I think it was called
Yeah,
Mao.
I think it was called Mao.
Okay, it's a real thing.
It's a really unfortunate name. Jesus Christ. I do remember that though. I remember there was a Mao table at my high school library, and I tried to win, and I did not know the rules well enough of the Mao table because you would play a couple games, you would lose, and then you would come back the next day, and it's like 6 more games have been won, 6 more rules have been attached to the game. Like you're done. There's no way you're gonna catch up. Um, I think everyone was kind of being bullied a little bit in high school, uh,
Yeah.
to
Well,
some
I'm now
degree.
thinking about a tabletop game where the point is an asymmetric thing where the point is obscuring some of the rules between certain players. I'm gonna
Oh,
chew on that more. I want to write that more than Fishblade. No, I really want to write Fishblade.
get that fish blade out.
I gotta get that Fishblade out. That was supposed to be for a jam that was running like when the tweet was viral.
Sounds like Flux, but you're playing it in a language you don't know. Yeah. 1,000 blank white cards. Yeah, I think that's kind of where God Game comes from. Is just like a game of 1,000 blank white cards that went on too long, um, and that's called D&D with people you hate. That's true. Um, yeah, what was I gonna say? Something about games. The idea of a game where like there's an obscuring mechanic is really interesting. I'm curious like how that would work. I gotta come up with something for Oracular Jam actually. Maybe I try and play with that. I'm thinking about that now. That's
Ooh,
like
what's Oracular Jam?
oh, so Oracular Jam is a jam through the Reliquary Street Station server. Um, Organized by my partner Stargazer Sasha, and I believe one other person, Moira Campbell. I will post the Oracular Jam stuff in here so that folks can look at it.
Also, goblins. That's a very cool idea of the paired clocks.
I'll have to look at that. Uh, had the idea about pairs connected clock stats for a while, like where one stat or clock going up means the other goes down. Ooh, yeah, that's fun. My wife would think you're autistic. Yeah, that's very... Mao was very autism coded, for sure. Um, so it is a part of the, like, I don't know if anyone is aware of, like, the trans fucking jam, trans fucking rage jam series. Um, but it's running May 1st to June 1st, and it's like oracular themed art games. The only thing is you have to be trans. That's the only like imposition on it. Uh, so people should submit stuff to that. Smiles.
Wait, I did hear about one of these because I think Sasha shouted out one of these jams recently, like at 7-Part Pact or
I
something.
think it might have been this one. Cause
These
yeah,
look really fucking cool.
yeah. A lot of my major game, like a lot of my big games were for different like Reliquary Street jams. Like Warehouse Bitches was for the trans. It was Trans Fucking Rage Jam. We Live Forever was for Trans Fucking Jam. And maybe I'll make something else for this. Who knows? I need to make it in a month.
Oh, I'm so excited to look at the submissions for Trans Fucking Jam.
They're good. Some
I'm
really good
excited
stuff
to
in
look
Trans
at
Fucking
everything.
Jam.
Oh, yay!
Yay! Games.
Oh, these are cool. I was
Yeah.
looking at I wanted to do something for the menu tabletop jam, and then it just totally got blasted out of my mind by work. But I still also want to make a menu game. I still want to make a menu about like commemorating a campaign by putting together a multi-course themed meal.
Yes, that was one of the coolest things that you did for that Sapphic World campaign.
I love doing that. That was fun.
It was so awesome. You really killed it. I think
Yeah.
about that a lot. Uh, it's good. I I like tabletop games that are about food. I'm really excited for Stew Pot. I've mentioned that before on this show, but I'll say it again. I'm excited to play Stew Pot. Stew Pot parentheses Evil Hat edition because I've already played it the itch version. Um, but yeah, games are cool. People should play and make more games. Being trans is cool. Being trans and making and playing games is one of the coolest things that you can possibly do. Um, and yeah. Does anyone have any other questions before we? I think we might wrap up. I will take your questions either emailed or direct in the chat. If you have any things you want to ask me or Ira.
I'm so glad that the dog food joke is persistent because I was very
Dog
pleased
food.
with myself for tucking the dog food joke into the menu.
Yes, please be selfish, Val. Absolutely. I would love to answer any selfish question that you have. Or non-selfish question. You could ask a selfless question as well. What is your Oh, interesting. Least favorite part of Fellowship? Oh boy. Have you played Fellowship, Ira?
I have not. I'm interested though.
It's a really, really good PBTA. When people ask me like what D&D, what they should play instead of D&D, I usually recommend Fellowship. Which like, not because I think it's like, to be clear, I'm around a lot of trans and queer people, so it's not because I think that like Fellowship does the things that D&D does or that they're like similar games. It's more just like when I look at the people who are asking me what they should be playing instead of D&D, I see I see Fellowship. I'm like, you want to make a little freak, you want to make an OC in a realm, and you want to fight a sexy bad guy, and it's the perfect game for that. Um,
What?
I have to be nice about it first because PBTA nearly ruined every other. I think that there are some good, like, no, I think there are plenty of good. I think PBTA has some weaknesses even, but that's another topic. I'd love to talk about that actually. But least favorite part of Fellowship. Let me think here. I I think the moves as stats for like NPCs for like monsters can be a bit confusing. However, people should buy and play Fellowship. Like, I should be very clear. The person who made Fellowship is asking me what my least favorite part of Fellowship is right now. Um, but you should buy and play it. But yeah, that would probably be my general. my general like least favorite part of it is I think like as mechanic the like moves as stats for NPC is not necessarily a weak mechanic, but it's a little confusing. Like sometimes I'm not sure like you know this thing says this character is undying, so like if I take it away, are they not undying? Like that's generally the way that I play it, but it took a little while to like intuit. I know what was Riley talking about with Fellowship? I think it was the thing that was addressed by the book actually, by like later editions. Right, it was that like the consequences weren't listed out clearly. But I think he put something in part 4 that or book 4 that like fixed that if I remember correctly. Um anyways, that was Clips's Fellowship thought
I
corner.
just skimmed through the description of it on Drive Through RPG, and I am so delighted by the concept of one player is the evil overlord, and it makes me want to play this immediately
It's
because
so good.
I want to be the evil overlord.
Get Fellowship now.
I'm going to get Fellowship.
I also don't necessarily know what like the production looks like for Fellowship, but it is definitely like uh it has it's unadorned, right? Like I think that's what I'd say about it in terms of like pages. Going even further with that, hell yeah! I hope that goes well. Um, but yeah, like I'm curious to see what you would do with like layout in a third edition. 5 different villain playbooks to choose from or work together. That rules. I'm really excited for that.
Oh,
Yeah, I hope you're not. I hope that my I hope that my answers have not uh have not hurt your feelings, Val. But because I do really like that game. Like if I had to like get together a group of people right now and was like, what game are we gonna play? I would probably say Fellowship. Like someone's like, I want to do a long RPG campaign. I'm like, hey, have you heard of Fellowship by Velmini? It's a game that I really like. Um, hell yeah, I'm glad that it was a good answer. Um, yeah, I love games. People should make them and play them. Uh, I should find someone to raid. Let's uh, let's see who is live. Oh god. Uh, everybody's out here playing Hades 2 in early access. I will not be doing this because I'm waiting for the game to be done.
I'm waiting for it to be on Switch because I enjoyed playing it on Switch so much that I would like to do that again.
Hmm. The method of fixing that is actually going to be mostly removing the companions mechanic. Interesting.
Make
Companions
your
is
own game.
probably one of my favorite parts of Fellowship. I'm curious to see what you do for that sort of stuff in its place. But that sorry, I would love to hear what you're doing with Fellowship because I that's really cool. Anyways, sorry, I'm kind of fangirling a little bit. um, uh, yes, but make your own game. You should. I
Make
think
your
that's
own
good.
game.
Um, I'm having trouble deciding who I want to raid. Let's raid. Oof. Oof. Uh, we're gonna raid Fran Opossum, who's playing Balatro. Making games does own. I agree. Fran is a cool opossum VTuber, and oh, that's not how you spell their name. Oops. Hang on. We're getting set up here. Uh, okay. Slash raid. Fran Opossum, and boop. All right. Ira, do you have anything else you want to promote before
Oh,
I shunt everyone off to the
well,
nether?
thank you for having me here, and thank you everyone for swinging by. I had a lot of fun. I enjoyed this very much. Oh, and I'll post my links again one more time. That's where
Yeah.
you can find all my stuff and my drawings, and you can even get me to do drawings for you for your games that you should make because you should make games.
Check out Ira, and thank you for being here, Ira. Next week we're gonna have Oh, I actually need to reach out to this person. We are presumably going to have Caleb from Haunted Table, who's one of the folks behind Triangle Agency. So keep an eye out for that, and I will see you all next time. Bye bye, everyone.
See ya.
Remember, if you don't like what you see, you can change it. It's up to you, really. Goodbye, good luck, and have fun